You're listening to Kentucky Running, presented by John's Run Walk Shop in Lexington. Help others find this show by rating, reviewing, and subscribing in your podcast app. This episode is sponsored by Curex Insoles.
My guests today are Liz Hodge, the Executive Director of A Running Start, and Tim Candelaria, who has been volunteering with A Running Start for the past 4 years. Liz, Tim, thank you so much for being on Kentucky Running.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Great to be here, Matt.
Well, why don't we start with an overview for people who aren't familiar. Tell us about the mission of A Running Start and where it got started.
Okay, awesome. So we have actually been around for about 13 years now. This will be our 13th year. I started this program with a girlfriend of mine because we both kind of have hearts for the homeless community and for our folks in recovery. And we were both runners at the time. We knew what running did for us, how we felt, the community, the physicality, everything about it. We had this idea of how can we plug that into the recovery community. And we had never heard of anything like this, pairing physical activity in a substance abuse recovery facility before, and didn't know where to start, didn't know what we were doing. We kind of looked around. There was a program called Back on Your Feet, which is out of Philadelphia. There's a lady there that she started it. We were like, ooh, we could do that here in Lexington. But to start a charter was almost $25,000 because it involves microloans and housing and education. And it's an enormous program. And we were like, we don't need quite that big. We just need something here for Lexington. And so we thought the running community here is just amazing, super supportive. We've got some phenomenal groups that run around Central Kentucky. And so we're like, we could start this grassroots. And the idea behind it was just to have some kind of physical activity, some kind of a physicality tied with the mind, spirit idea in recovery, and giving people another tool in their sobriety tool belt.
Tim, how did you get involved with A Running Start?
I started running about 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And I got involved with some running groups in the community. One of the people I ran with recommended I go check out Running Start. He said it's a really great program. And I'm in recovery also, 28 years strong. So I knew how important it is for the fellowship. So I'll check it out and try it out. And I really enjoyed it, interacting with the guys, sharing my experiences with them sharing their experiences with me. So yeah, kind of word of mouth. And then I just been putting a lot of effort into it. And that's how that started.
Tim's a great example of our volunteers. So when we first started this, my girlfriend very early on decided this kind of wasn't for her. So I did it by myself for a long time. And so then we started gathering volunteers that just really loved the heart of what we were doing. And over time now, we have over 30 volunteers that rotate in and out weekly and monthly. And these are property owners and business owners and doctors and lawyers and people that people in recovery would like to have that connection with, because once they complete their program, who's going to give them a job? Who's going to, offer them housing if they have felonies or criminal histories other than the person they already know, somebody they've run with for 12 weeks that saw them cross a finish line, knows what their personality is like and gives them a second chance. So there's a real beautiful aspect to our volunteers that come into the Hope Center and help out.
What are the volunteers doing? Like, what are some of the opportunities?
Well, for me, it's interacting with the guys. I go around and try to get some shoes donated from various sources, equip the guys with clothes that have been donated, giving them, pointers of good running stuff, the process of running. I think with recovery, being in recovery and understanding it's a process to get better, like it is with running. As you develop, how it is training, you start slow, you work up. Sometimes you have to slow down a little bit to get faster. So that's some of the stuff that I really kind of focus on, and just working with the guys one-on-one. And once they get running, you get on the trail, breaks down a lot of those barriers because you're running, you're exerting so much energy to keep running, so you feel more free to talk about things. I think that's one of the bigger things that really helps a lot of the guys. I think the other big thing is with their active community members. So it normalizes their communication with people that they wouldn't normally mix with. Being in the substance abuse community, out using, you don't interact with people that are business owners and people that hold down jobs.
And where do you run? Is it just anywhere, or do you have some regular routes?
We have regular rhythm. So the good thing about the Hope Center, the Men's Hope Center off Loudon Avenue, we're based here in Lexington, Kentucky. There is a walking and running trail that is called the Legacy Trail. Was the Rails to Trails initiative, and it runs almost 24 miles out to the horse park. So this gives us a very regulated place for us to go that's off of main traffic. Beautiful scenery. You're out in nature. It's safe for the guys. It's safe for our volunteers, and it's a great place to go. We have, over the years, tried to partner with many different recovery facilities and sober living and day centers and everything you can imagine. And one of our biggest hurdles has been where to run. Do you run on a street with 40 people? How's that safe? Do you run downtown where there's triggers for a lot of people? There's a lot of houses there that are triggers, or places or people. So the Legacy Trail allows us just a super safe place to be, and it's a great meetup. And they see other runners. So they see John's Run Walk. They see, Todd's Road Stumblers. They see West Six. It's exciting because they look like athletes to them. So when we're out there and these guys are brand new starting out and they're barely making it 10 feet without a breath, and then they're watching other runners and they either look up to the runners that look really athletic or they look to the runners that are struggling and be like, oh, they're struggling like me. It's okay.
Hey runners, real quick, I want to tell you about Kentucky running sponsor Curex insoles, available at John's Run Walk Shop. Getting the right shoes on your feet is crucial, but it's only part of solving the foot health puzzle. You also need to make sure your arches are fully supported when you're running or just going through your day-to-day activities. Curex Run Pro insoles could be just what you need. Their flexible support and shock-absorbing cushioning help reduce fatigue. That prevents common running injuries, keeping you out there longer. Dynamic arch support with a deep decoupled heel cup fits, wraps, and locks the heel in place to improve stability, reduce pressure, and provide a perfect fit. And they help manage moisture with a mesh top layer and premium foam cushioning to keep your feet dry and running shoes fresh. They come in 3 profiles, high, medium, and low, to fit your individual arch type. I wear the medium profile, that's the yellow one, but to find which one works best for you, head to John's Run Walk Shop. Ask us to check out your arches and knee alignment, and we'll help you find the right pair of Curex Run Pro insoles for you. Learn more at johnsrunwalkshop.com/insoles.
Part of the Running Start program is a 12-week running training program. Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so we do a Couch to 5K program. When I first started this, I trained for half marathons and I nearly killed some dudes. And so that's quite a training program. And then we had people that were completing their recovery program before they were completing their running training. So they weren't able to go to their race or whatever we were planning for. So a Couch to 5K allows a 5K training that almost anybody can accomplish. It starts out slow with a walk jog combo, builds up. So our goal is always just to get them across the finish line. I don't care if they crawl, walk, however they get there. They've crossed the finish line. They've accomplished something. They've showed up, been responsible, and they have a medal around their neck at 12 weeks. So, I mean, it's a huge accomplishment while in recovery, while doing their classes, while working on recovering, relationships and everything else they're doing. This is just another little thing that they can say that they've done.
I think having the community support too with the other guys that are going along with them, they can, 1 week they're running 1 minute, next week they're running 2 minutes at a time. So they build it up and they have the support of everybody else and they kind of go up seems like a lot of the guys will go as a group too. They'll have like 3 or 4 guys that kind of, we got this week, we'll do 3 minutes. Next week we'll do 3.5 minutes and walk for 1.5 minutes. That's kind of the big, one of the bigger selling points of the guys, giving encouragement.
And I imagine the lessons they get for running translate into recovery, right? Like it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that you're going to just conquer immediately. It's just gradual and you're always working on it, right?
Correct. I think a lot of it, because for me, being in recovery and understanding the recovery process and whatnot, I'm able to really kind of bridge those 2 types of activities in parallel, just like doing the steps and doing your recovery work. Running the same thing. And I found that with my own personal running experience. I didn't run, I've only been running like 5 years. So I really learned a lot, talking to the guys and says, take it slow, take it easy. But yeah, the accomplishment they feel at the end when they start doing their, week 4, they're doing something they haven't done before. There's a little bridge going across New Circle. When they get to that bridge, it's like, yes, I made it to the bridge. So yeah, it helps with, just finding those little goals, just the small goals at first, then work up and work up and work up. So
And sometimes that turns into bigger goals. Like you were telling me before we started recording, you're about to run your first marathon, right?
that is correct. Yes, in 9 days, and yeah, it's gonna be fun, exciting, nice training.
And which marathon?
Ogden, Utah, the Ogden Marathon.
That should be beautiful.
Yes, my hometown. So I'll go back home and represent Kentucky in my hometown.
Good luck with that. Do you find a lot of the guys, once they complete the 12-week program and they do their first 5K, that they're sticking around and they want to keep going and they want to set new goals?
Some of the guys, yeah. I think a lot of the guys who completed the program, the 5K, at least 5K, seem like they do better after they get out of the program. A lot of the guys, kept in touch with them, and we do have them come back and come say hi and run with us again. And a lot of the guys are actually from different counties too, so it makes it harder for them to come back from all over the state.
We always say that even if just one person takes this forward into their recovery or into their sober journey, that's a win. Just recovery is not a cookie cutter thing. Everybody takes to something different. So running may not be your thing. Maybe it's knitting, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's pets. I don't know. But if we can find that one little thing for one guy that can help him a little bit further in life. We had the alumni picnic at the Hope Center last August, and a guy came up to me and he said, "Do you remember me, Miss Liz?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, I really don't." He said, "I ran with you 10 years ago." He said, "I'm getting ready to complete my ultra marathon of 100 miles. My wife and kid will be at the finish line." He's like, "I brought running into the rest of my life." And I was like, that's it. We win.
I love hearing stories like that. Back to the founding of A Running Start. Were there any challenges in getting the program off the ground initially?
Yeah, huge. First of all, a lot of times recovery facilities don't understand the physicality aspect of it, understanding that there are different ways to help somebody in their sobriety. But one of the biggest ones was a female and a male recovery facility. First place that I started out was Lighthouse Ministry on Elm Street in downtown Lexington with a recovery facility called Nehemiah House. They had 6 guys in there. And I was talking to the executive director, Tay Henderson. She's amazing. She was actually a runner. And she said, "Hey, I've got these young guys. I think they might benefit for a program that like you're talking about." And I said, "Okay, I'll go try it." And she gave me a 5 a.m. run time because they had to still get to their classes and do other things during the day. So she said, "You can come and run with them, but 5 a.m." So I got there and I was like, what's it going to look like with a chick there with 6 guys running at 5 a.m.? Those guys became some of my best friends over the years. I'm still in contact with all 6 of them, which is pretty amazing. They're at my Thanksgiving table, my Christmas table. But over the years, the challenges have been just finding a place for us, a physical activity in a recovery facility. You think that would make total sense, but it's been a challenge over the years. But the Hope Center has been an amazing partner to us. They have fully taken us on as part of their recovery program. And by that, I mean, one of our runs counts as a meeting for them. So there's a certain number of meetings they have to meet each week for their requirements. And a running start actually counts as one of their meetings, which is phenomenal. It's not only, something they can do extra, but it counts towards their benefit.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Let's talk about some of the shifts in mindset of some of the participants. I imagine people in recovery might struggle with a sense of self-worth. So how does something like hitting a physical goal, like a 5K, help to dismantle those negative self-beliefs?
I think a lot of them, when they get out, they are, their bodies are pretty badly damaged too. Their lungs or insides, coming off of whatever they're coming off of. So I think part of that, a lot of the guys start walking, and I think just getting out walking helps build some of that esteem. I think the interactions, I think, is probably the biggest part for the guys, regardless if you're running or walking, but they start communicating and getting over some of that self-worth stuff, thinking they can't do it. Or, back in high school, I was able to do this, but I haven't been able to do this for so many years. Now it feels good to get out. Some of the nights, they get those like beautiful sunset nights, and it's just fresh breeze in the air. Some of the guys have been coming out, pretty fresh out of incarceration, being locked up. So they're, excited to get out. And with recovery and the fellowship, and, it's kind of like I akin it a lot to the running fellowship and the running groups that we do around town. There's a really sense of community there. And I think with recovery and the running community, combining those forces, it's a really good fellowship opportunity and just companionship, which I think is the biggest thing with addiction recovery, is that feeling a sense of belonging. And you get these volunteers that are just, people that might not have any really major problems like some of the guys do, but they're there and really humanize the people that are in the Hope Center. That's one of the things I really noticed I really liked when I first started coming in volunteering was they're not looked down upon. They're looked as people trying to get better. And we're doing it by running a little bit or walking a little bit. So that's probably one of the bigger takeaways with that, building the self-esteem and in life you want to have a good group of people around you, and I think it helps build that up and breaks down those walls by just doing those little steps, the little things, the little accomplishments. At the end of the run, it's like every time people are running in, there's a group of guys cheering you on every time. It's great. That little mini finish line every night, it's like a little mini finish line. You got to that stop sign, you got it, buddy. And they usually push themselves and high fiving and all that, pats on the back.
Liz told a story earlier about the guy who came back after 10 years. Do you have any specific stories, Tim, about someone that you ran with for a while and just seeing a transformation in them?
I have. Yeah, there's a couple of guys I've done the races with. Old Puddin, we call him. Still see him around. He pops in every once in a while. He's doing his life and living well and doing his recovery. But he pops in and always tells a story about how me and him ran the race together. We finished the finish line together. And I usually try to find one or two guys where I can do that with, and that's been seeing those guys a couple of years later. It's really cool. I remember we did the race together. Have the pictures and the finish line, running hand, basically neck and neck, crossing that line together. Probably, a good 5 or 6 guys like that I've done that with, that I still see and interact with.
So Lexington has as you said, very strong running culture. How has the local running community embraced a running start over the years?
Hugely, hugely. So Bob Bainey with Race Rise has been one of our biggest supporters from the very beginning. He actually made us their charity run for a 5K like 12 years ago. It was a tiki 5K at night. And that's how he and I connected. And ever since then, he has tried to comp out all of our race registrations for any guy that we bring that is going to run, and then give discounts for our volunteers for race registrations as well, that's a huge cost. I mean, we are a nonprofit that takes in no money. So race registration, that sort of thing, our volunteers and I have absorbed the cost of shoes and everything for years. So that connection's amazing. Of course, West 6 has been amazing. They're doing a clothing and shoe drive for us right now. Crown Trophy off of Nicholasville Road provides our medals. Not all 5Ks have a medal, so we partner with a local 5K every 12 weeks. Sometimes they don't have medals, so we always have our own Running Start 5K medal that they're able to put around their neck and keep as a keepsake. We've just had amazing support from volunteers. I get messages weekly on my phone of, hey, I'd love to come out. I'd love to, bring my brother who is, working through his recovery. Can he come? Yeah, of course. Can I come out and bring my dog? I think, we would love to be a part of this. So we're very blessed in Kentucky to have such a strong running community.
Yes, I love being part of this community. It's great. For people who are just listening, how can they support a running start through whether it's volunteering or donations or other activities you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can follow us on Facebook. We are a Running Start. The profile picture is a picture of one of our guys' backs of his shirt. We post our photos on there from every run. Follow us on there. Like and share our stories. That helps put the word out. That's huge. Volunteers, just come out. We're out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 6 p.m. starting at the Legacy Trail there. You can't miss us. We are 20, 30, 40 deep of dudes with neck tattoos. Like, you're not going to miss us. So we're out on the trail. Come out. Walkers are encouraged. Anybody that just wants to come out, if you're a jogger or if you're a runner, we would love to have some really solid runners come out and help these guys see what athleticism does in their lives. We can always use water donations. And then Tim is I call him our equipment manager. I am the worst at keeping track of all of our donated shoes. And he and his beautiful bride have taken care of our shoe donations for at least the last year or two. And so we can always use gently used shoes, running shoes. We really could use those donations.
I actually have a bag of shoes that I need to bring to you. Yep. a whole bunch of ultra shoes. Last question and both of you can answer this. What is your advice for someone who's in the early stages of recovery who feels like they can't take that first step?
Man, that's a good question, Matt. There's been many people before you that have felt the same way, and they've been able to take that first step. That's the biggest thing. Just taking the leap of faith just a little bit. Sometimes just doing something versus nothing is the biggest thing. It doesn't matter what it is, showing up somewhere and saying, hey, here I am. I want to be counted. I want to be seen. That first initial part of being seen and heard. Usually addicts sometimes feel lost in the system and they need that first initial, I'm here, and hopefully there'll be somebody there to kind of pull them through. And I think, the Running Start's a good program for that. There's a lot of great treatment programs around in Lexington, different 12-step programs. There's a lot of great resources. And don't be afraid, because there's some really good people out there that are willing to help and really care. I noticed that with the volunteers that I met through Running Start and some of the other people in my recovery community. There's people out there that will pull you through those difficult times.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think, I am not in recovery, so I rely on our volunteers and Hope Center staff to help me to bridge that gap on the recovery side. But what I've found after doing this for 13 years, which I joke that I'm the most in recovery person, not in recovery. I'm a 12-stepper. I believe in it. I've read the book. I do the things. But I think that one of the biggest things is just lacing up your shoes. That's the hardest thing about a running group is to, lace up your shoes and get out there and get going. And then, the hardest thing in recovery too is taking that first step and asking for help and reaching out. And it's very isolating. Addiction is very by yourself. And so that community of just having other people walking those steps with you, and a mile is hard for anybody, recovery is hard for everybody. Absolutely. Having other people to do it with, that's the big thing. It's all about community and fellowship and having a hand that's going to pull you forward. If you want to know, our race that we've got coming up is June the 6th. We're going to be doing No Greater Honor. It's a fantastic race. It's a 5K. June the 6th, we'll do that. And then one of the fun things that we try to do is create other community events around a Running Start so that we can show people that sobriety is fun. There's fun stuff to do out there. So we're actually going to the Red River Gorge May the 30th. We're taking a big group of guys and we're going to go hiking for the day, get outside in nature, enjoy each other. I think that's one of the things is just getting out there and enjoying other people. We're working on a couple fun things with the city. One is we're working on a mural that we're possibly putting on the Legacy Trail of runners. Would be a bird's eye view of runners on the trail with possibly some positive words along the way. That would be amazing for runners who've been before us and runners coming forward to see, that we were here because we've been there for a decade. We're the only group I know that is consistently out there for so long. And then the other thing that we're working on is a 5K cooperation with the Hope Center. We're hoping to do that end of August versus September. That will be the first Hope Center 5K they've ever done. And so we're hoping to have this partnership for years on out, make it nice and big and just something for the community and to engage in, our recovery community with Lexington. And so that the stigmas are removed. Everybody has an amazing night together.
Liz, Tim, thank you so much for sharing about a Running Start. I encourage people to check the show notes and we'll have links. Go to learn more about a Running Start and some volunteer and donation opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Matt. It's a privilege and an honor.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you so much. And Tim, we are honored by our volunteers. I couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this conversation with another group of people who are making a huge difference in the Lexington community through running. Thanks again to Liz and Tim from A Running Start. Check the links in the show notes for more information about how you can help out A Running Start. And one more way you can support them is through shoe donations. As they mentioned, they need donations of shoes because can't run without those. If you have any gently used shoes that you're looking to get rid of, you can drop them off at John's Run Walk Shop anytime. We sift through our donations and anything that we feel is good enough to donate to people, nothing too beat up, something that they can wear with dignity. We donate those shoes locally through places like the Hope Center and Lighthouse Ministries. Anything that's too beat up to donate, you can still drop that off and we will ship it to Sneaker Impact, which will take those shoes, any footwear by the way, boots, sandals, all good. They'll grind them up and take those materials and make new products out of them. So don't toss your old shoes in the garbage, bring them to John's Run Walk Shop and we will give them new life. Once again, thanks for listening. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast so that other people can learn about excellent organizations like A Running Start. For John's Run Walk Shop, my name is Matt Reno, and we'll talk again soon on Kentucky Running.